prayer, and we pray it in your name. Amen.
Here, not here.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Say that again. Can you turn up the volume so that you can hear me? I've never been accused of not being able to be heard. Can you hear me now? There you go. Well, I'll make sure that you can hear me, and I tell anybody else that comes out to talk directly into the microphone, into the microphone. There we go. That should work. Want it done right? Have a smart young woman do it. There you go.
Okay, we ready to go
My name
live?
is Nate Miles, and I'm here to do your in-service today. I want to welcome each and every one of you. I'm also on the board of the NAACP National Foundation, and it is truly a pleasure and a privilege to be able to welcome each and every one of you today to talk about gun violence and what it does and what it has done, and to let those families know that what the losses that they've had shall never be forgotten. Those lives who you see around here shall never be forgotten. Not by their families, not by their friends, and not by us as a community. Because when it hurts their family, it hurts our community, because each and every one of us, as we've seen, it can happen to each and every one of us. So we don't take that for granted. And we want to make sure that they know that we are here with them. So with that, at this time, I would like to bring on the president of the Seattle chapter, someone who has been there throughout COVID, someone who has been there through thick and thin, making sure that this organization stays strong, someone that is known to most of us, is Ms. Carolyn Riley Payne, who will then be followed by a young lady that many of you knew because she grew up in the NAACP, and she will sing a song after that. Ms. Kathleen Stokes will grace us with a song after Ms. Riley Payne sings. Ms. Riley Payne. No, Carol is not going to sing. She will bring us remarks, and then after that will be Ms. Kathleen Stokes.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. We're so glad to have you at this occasion, it won't be forgotten. You cannot let them be forgotten. The names that you see around that they said are names that people in
Our broadcast.
We're also here to honor the Buffalo 10, just to remember who they are. Because when you say the name, it brings it back, makes them real. Too often, we forget. Liberty and justice for all. These words we have known and thousands of children each day stand for the flag and say liberty and justice for all. But are we doing what we need to have liberty for all? As the president of the Seattle King County NAACP, I call on people, all people, no matter what your skin color is, to join us as we try to continue to make our community safe and free of gun violence. We must join, we must form a united front and end gun violence. We also have to end hatred. So we want you to reach out, do what you can do. You want to know what you can do, you can call your legislator. You can write letters. We are hoping that Congress will end their 20-year hold on the CDC and lift it so that they can do research on gun violence as a health condition. If they do that, then we can get the research that shows how gun violence impacts the community. We can have the science behind what we live and we know every day. So we ask you to join us. Don't stand back. Say something. We need to clear the world, the Seattle King County, Washington State, of assault weapons. What are we doing? The NAACP, we have a list of 20 things that we're asking, and one of the main things is to clear gun violence, getting the assault weapons off the streets. We don't need that because that was made. Those guns were made for war, not for ordinary citizens. So please think about it. The next time you get ready to buy a gun safety, think about that too. We are finding that people that get killed are children because somebody left a gun someplace. Now, when I was growing up, they could leave a gun everywhere and you couldn't touch it. But that's not the way we raise our children today, and that's not the way that's not the way we raise our children. And so we got to teach our children also how to be safe around guns. So please take a moment. When you see a child, talk to them about safety. Our children are traumatized. Going to school is getting ready to get out, and they still are afraid in school. So we have to make our schools safe because that's our job, to keep our children safe. In the summertime, we have to find things for them to do. Summer programs, working with your children, don't just leave them. We have to make sure that our children are safe. So join the NAACP as we move forward to end gun violence in Seattle. Thank you. Help your children. Don't let them fall inside. What is that? Please teach them. Heaven may find. So your sound is okay. I do this every day, so that's no problem. He can't let you down. I know. So we gotta do. We gotta walk on through temptation. 'Cause He love and His wisdom will be your helping hand. And bring the truth. His word will be our salvation. Open up our hearts to be thankful. Jesus is love. Yeah, you can't let you down. And I know He's mine. I need you, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Be tender, helping hand.
That's the kind of talent that Axel and the NAACP is putting together. And Daryl Powell, I see the first vice president of the NAACP is snuck in. He's collecting membership. So if you want to do a membership, send it up to Daryl Powell up at the top. Raising memberships for the NAACP. Number one deal at the NAACP, always be seeking membership. So we help Ms. Carolyn Riley Payne when we take them to the national. At this point, I would like to, on a serious note, bring up one, which is why we're here today, is to really give some time to the relatives. And this next woman that I would love to have come up is someone who is a mother who lost a child. And I can tell you as a parent who lost not one, but two children, not by gun violence, but I lost two children nonetheless. To this day, I can honestly tell you there is nothing that hurts me more to hear a song, to smell a smell, to hear a sound, and not know that that child of mine passed away, and I know that. And so I understand as a parent that feeling. And so what we want to do is hear from one of the parents who went through the gun violence, Ms. Wanda Montgomery, to speak for a few minutes, and then we're going to be joined by a special guest, Ms. Sharon Tamiko Santos, representative of the 37th district, whose district you're in, who will follow Ms. Montgomery, who will share with us for a couple of minutes, since we're in her district as well. Ms. Montgomery, please come forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wanda Montgomery, and Deshaun Eugene Milton was my baby boy. And he's also known as DeMille. DeMille was a graduate of Clarksville High School. He played on the varsity football team when he was a freshman. He loved baseball. He loved track. He was my firstborn. And on December the 24th, 2012, my son went out to a club called the Munch Bar on Christmas Eve to help celebrate a birthday. And early that morning, I got the call. And a lot of parents know what the call is. I got the call, and it said, your boy have been shot. And my baby boy didn't make it home. When that happened, it tore my family apart. It took a piece of my heart. And so today, as I stand here, I'm a mother with a piece of her heart is still missing. And that's one thing a parent, a mother, a father, nobody should ever have to bury their child. But I had to bury mine. And my son, as I said, he was a great person. He was my best friend. We could go in the kitchen, no matter how big or how small it was, and we could cook a meal. He loved to cook. And we would cook a meal. And he would tell me, Mom, you got to dance around each other. He said, I'm coming from the right. And I tell him, I'm coming towards the left. So we would dance around each other and we would cook a good meal together. And my son, he was my world. And I know people say it gets better with time. Hasn't gotten better. It'll be 10 years come December of this year that he's been gone. And my heart still hurts. My heart still bleeds. I still miss my baby boy. Because of no mother or father should have to bury their child. And I want to thank you guys for being here. But I can say his name. I can say his name and know that it will never be forgotten. I can say Deshaun Eugene Milliken. He lives, and he still lives in my heart. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on my son. And as I sit down and close, I also want to mention that my son died on Christmas Eve. 3 months later, my grandson's father died, taking around the clock on a Good Friday. On a Good Friday, my grandson's father died. And so we were mourning 2 deaths at the same time. But through it all, I still stand here to let you know that I'm going to always say their name. I'm going to say Deshaun. I'm going to say Kavion Fox. I'm going to say their name. So thank you, everybody.
Very difficult to follow a mourning mother. And on behalf of the Washington State Legislature and all Washingtonians, please accept our continuing condolences for your loss and know that all of these people are gathered here for you and every other parent and grandparent and family member who has lost a loved one. I want to thank the NAACP for organizing this remembrance again, so we do not forget the names of our loved ones. I know, and many of you know, because you're wearing the color orange, that has been the color designated for standing against gun violence. And so thank you for my tag with a little bit of orange. I want you to know I'm standing here wearing black because I am in mourning. I am in mourning. I am in mourning because of the children who lost their lives in Uvalde, Texas. I am in mourning because of our brothers and sisters who are simply going out, doing the most mundane of activities, grocery shopping in Buffalo, New York. I'm in mourning because women, immigrants who are struggling to make a life here in the United States reported to their works in Atlanta, Georgia, and were cut down by gun violence. Now you see that I am wearing a pin here. This is the pin for grandmothers against gun violence. And so if you are a grandmother or a grandfather against gun violence, please raise your hand and keep it raised. There's also an organization of mothers against gun violence. If you are a mother or a father who stands against gun violence, raise your hand and keep it raised. And there's another organization that is called Every Town for Gun Responsibility, who's working with us to make sure that our streets are safe for our kids and for our elders. And if you believe that Seattle should be one of the every towns for gun responsibility, raise your hands. Because it's going to take all of us, to make that happen. I do want to note that it seems so appropriate that we gather here in the heart of Martin Luther King County at Martin Luther King Park. Because more than 50 years ago, that visionary preacher foretold a day of reckoning, a period of reckoning, and we are at that point of reckoning right now, where he called out the three evils of America. The three evils of America are racism, that we have seen, where we have watched on television a man literally being murdered, where we have seen the ongoing anti-Blackness across this country, identifying innocent people just because they're Black to be murdered. He also talked about the evil of a consumeristic society or materialism, where we now have a country that boasts more guns than people. What's wrong with that picture? We live in a country that has more guns than people because people are not only buying guns, they are collecting guns, and they are collecting guns that have only one purpose in mind: not to hunt, unless you happen to be of the human sort. And then finally, he forewarned us about the military-industrial complex. And we know that there are gun manufacturers who are deliberately stretching the truth to boost their sales. So today, as we gather in Martin Luther King Park, Martin Luther King Memorial Park, let us remember this great man. And one of the things, because I see my friend Nate standing, that he reminded us that we can all take up upon ourselves, is that I can never be what I am intended to be unless you are what you are fully intended to be. And if our babies aren't here, they can never be what they are fully intended to be. So join me, call on Congress to pass legislation that bans the type of weapons that have no purpose than to discriminate against life for all of us. Thank you so much for this time.
She's warming up for the session. At this point, I would like to bring up Claude Burfitt and Monica Lewis, who, as we saw a minute ago, we're going to call their name. We're not going to leave this part today without calling the name of the people who we are here to honor. So Claude and Monica, if you will come forward and lead us in calling the names, that would be great.
Thank you, Nate. I just want to say that a young man from New York plotted and planned an execution of Black folks, Black people in New York. Unfortunately, on May 16, 2022 at 11:33 a.m. at Top Foods in Buffalo, New York, 10 people from that state And I say state because all of them were not from Buffalo, were executed. And those names are, as I call out, Roberto A. Drury of Buffalo, New York, age 32. Marcus D. Morrison of Buffalo, New York, age 52. Andre McNeil of Auburn, New York, age 53. Aaron Salter of Lockport, New York, age 55. Geraldine Talley of Buffalo, New York, age 62. Celestine Cheney of Buffalo, New York, age 65. Hayward Patterson of Buffalo, New York, age 67. Catherine Massey of Buffalo, New York, age 72. Pearl Young of Buffalo, New York, age 77. And Ruth Whitfield of Buffalo, New York, age 86. Thank you.
Thank you. And here are some names of deaths of gun violence throughout King County, Seattle. DeAndre Dickerson, Deshaun Milliken, Connor Dasa Holland, Adriel Webb, Ezra Taylor, Avery Wilcox, Donald McCaney, Tarika Matheson, Kadeem Ritchie, Lorenzo Marr, and Carl Shears. Thank you.
There are many more, as some of you may know. But at this point, I'm going to call up Miss Kiona Jackson, who is one of the mothers, to speak a little bit about her son, Miss Jackson. And then we're going to be followed by Miss Stokes, who is going to grace us with another song. Miss Jackson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Kiona Jackson, and my beautiful son, DeAndre Dickerson, was killed April 14th, 2015. He was 24 years old. I believe every tear I've cried, every belly scream I've let out, every unanswered question, all the emails I've sent to the district attorney, the mayor, city councilman, and any and everyone else, every challenge I've faced over the last 2,615 days has prepared me for this day today. All of my wrestling and tussling with God almost daily since that April day about the why Dre, why my son, brings us together today. As I was preparing to speak to you today, praying and thinking through what I would share with you, how I would put my pain, the impact of what happened on April 14th, 2015, how to talk about the murder of my child, share my story, our story, I found myself thinking, most of these people don't even know Dre. And just like I'm standing here before you today, God said, tell them about it. It became abundantly and crystal clear that all of this, the why, is less about me and more about sharing the gift that Dre was and is to me, my family, as well as the gift he is and was to this community and to the world. God said, you, Kiana, get to be the vessel of love that shares my story, my love, our story, that will ultimately change hearts and minds. Dre truly was a gift indeed, in the very literal sense, as he was the first baby born on Christmas Day, 1990. And from that day, he really is the gift that keeps on giving. His larger-than-life personality, his huge smile, his laugh, his tenacity, his brilliance, his passion, his never-give-upness, his grit, his perseverance, his competitiveness, his love of football, actually all things sports, his consistency and commitment, his determination, When so many doors were closed in his face, he refused to give up. He was the type of person that would instantly light up the room once he entered. Oh, you was gonna laugh and have a good time when Ray was around. And now there is silence where all of that once was. And as I attempt to articulate the impact of the absence of DeAndre, there just aren't enough words. The hole that is left in my life is so big that you cannot get around it, and it is so wide that you can't get over it. Sometimes the reality of his absence is all encompassing. It takes the very breath away, and it makes my knees buckle when I least expect it. And although I am still physically alive, a big part of me died on that cold, rainy night with DeAndre. Kiana pre-April 14th and post-April 14th are two very different Kianas. And sometimes it's really hard to mourn the death of my son, as well as the death of you. It's been 2,615 days since he died, since I've heard his voice, since I've seen him smile, laughed until my sides hurt from him cracking jokes, playing the dozen, imitating family members, poking me in my side. 2,615 days since he was snatched away from his son, from his family, from his friends, from this community. 2,615 days since the old Kiana died. Since my smile changed, since the way I brush my teeth changed, since the way I leave certain lights on at my house at night changed, since pessimism, fear, anxiety, and rage replaced optimism, fearlessness, and happiness. My heart is broken and it still hurts a lot. The reality is my healing is infinite. I will always be healing. And the healing process often gets thwarted constantly with this ongoing ringing of gunfire every single day. And my heart breaks again and again for all the mothers that are now members of the club that none of us ever wanted to be a member of. The beautiful and fortunate thing is God and I are back speaking again. It took a while. He was patient with me because he knew long before April 14th how I was going to respond. So he waited for me and he held me and he protected my broken heart even when I had it on mute. I've spent a good part of the last 7 years in a perpetual state of grief and sadness, anger and sorrow. And at some point as of late, I decided I didn't want to be sad anymore. I didn't want to swirl and spin there, so I decided to start being more like DeAndre. And I find myself looking for creative ways to have fun and smiling more and being more intentional and doing things that make me happy. And remembering how much fun Dre and I had together. And I've been discovering ways to create that with my grandson. And I've realized part of my healing is in remembering the joy of DeAndre. Healing is in the celebration of the gift that DeAndre was and is. So now what? What does this all mean? It means it is my mission to make sure DeAndre Charles Dickerson is not forgotten. That the world knows that not only did he die, but that he lived for 24 wonderful, amazing years before April 14th. He was a son, a beloved father, a big brother, a nephew, a favorite cousin, a friend, and much more. The cheesy smile and infectious smile, the cheesy laugh and infectious smile that makes me happy when I was sad. But that he did his best to look out for his friends and for his family. He was a fighter and he loved hard. He loved his son more than life itself. He lived every day like it was his last. And Dre wanted me to stop by and tell y'all, you get to do the same. I've literally been asking myself, what is my impact? What do I want folks to remember me by? And I've concluded that I want y'all to say, I used my gifts, shared my passions and the gifts that God gave to me and to the world. And one of those gifts is DeAndre Charles Dickerson. I used to get annoyed when folks would call me Dre's mom, but now I stand proudly before you and saying it is an honor and a privilege to be Dre's mom all the days of my life. I love you, son, always and forever, forever. Thank you, NAACP. Thank you to each of you for loving on me and my family in this community. Thank you, Miss Erica.
Thank you, Ms. Kiana Jackson, for that moving testimony. I'm emotional hearing people's hearts right now. So just wanted to share that word. That's where I'm at before I sing The Change Is Gonna Come. It's a classic that we Black folk been singing for a while. And the words still ring so true today. And my favorite part about meeting God through grief is that, like Miss Kiana Jackson said, even when I put God on mute or I give God some attitude, God's here with healing and grace and love for not just myself, but the people around me. So thank you, because your testimonies touched me and healing me. I was born by the river, just like that river. I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but oh, change gotta come. Oh, yes, it's been too hard, but I'm afraid to die. I don't know what's up beyond these skies. It's been a long time coming, but I know the change gotta come. Oh, yes it is. So I go to the movies and I make my way downtown. Why do people telling me, baby girl, you can't hang around? It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it is. So I go to my brother, I say, brother, let me please. And he finds that I can be down on my when I think I can't handle it, that's when God tells me, baby girl, there's so much you do. I know what's up there. Change gotta come. Oh, yes, it will. Does anybody want change to come? You want to? You want to change? Who wants to change to come? I'm asking. Put your hands up, wave at me. We need this change. I'm tired of meeting youth at memorials. I'm tired of seeing my black family at memorials. We're celebrating death. And I thank God for keeping us here to be able to remember these people. This change gotta come. This change Mr. Mayor, I hope you have something for these people, because we look to you.
We're going to get that change, one way or the other. Right now, it's a pleasure and a privilege for me to introduce somebody that I have known for a number of years. I don't think how many, but this man is a Christian man. He is a son of Seattle. He understands who we were when Seattle was, when you drive into it, it said we're an all-American city. He stepped up to the plate when people were starting to write Seattle off and saying it couldn't be that all-American city again. He's always stepped to the plate, whether it was the Esquire Club that he stepped up to, putting his own money into it, to this city when he didn't have to step up to it when he was on the city council. He could have went out in the private sector and made all kinds of money, but he's that kind of guy. He loves this city. He loves us. He leads with his heart, and I know that this change is going to come because we have a mayor who believes in change. He believes in the deal that he cut with God, and he believes that if he leads that way, it's all going to work out right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give you our mayor, Mr. Bruce Harrell.
Thank you, Brother Nate. I'll speak loudly, but I have to tell you, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. It's tough because I listen to Sister Montgomery and Sister Jackson. It takes me to a place where I held my own mother's hand when my brother died. It takes me to a place where Davida, who was helping with gun policy issues, to a place where I feel her pain. The NAACP, thank you. Because this isn't so much an opportunity for us to hurt and to feel the pain. It's an opportunity for us to feel love for one another, to get through this together. Now, many of you know, as a person who was born in this city, I could talk a little bit. I like action. So I'm going to talk about some things we're going to do together. The first thing we have to recognize is that all of you are here based on love for the community. Everyone is here because of that. So I'm not so concerned about the people out there that aren't here right now. I'm concerned about you. And I look at these young folks right here. And I'm not talking about Daryl Powell or Tony Benton. I'm talking about these young folks right here. That yesterday, I participated in a celebration of an investment we made at Pratt Park. Multi-million-dollar investment to activate the park in the Central District. And I asked a few folks, well, do you know who Edwin Pratt was? Do you know anything about him? I know Brother Rye does. And he was a local leader, local civil rights leader. He was head of our urban league here. He went to Clark University. In 1969, he too was murdered. All we know to this day is it was done by two men. That's all we know. So many of us, this is not our first rodeo, so to speak. And here's the thing that really angers me. Gun sales in this country are up. Ammunition sales in this company are up. We still have over 70 million people in this country that possibly think, I'm not even going to mention this man's name, that someone lost or should have won the election. This country, I will tell you, needs this kind of hope and love and prayer and faith, Sister Stokes, that we have right here in this moment. And I will tell you, I said this to President Biden face to face. I said this to Vice President Harris face to face and the cabinet members. The answers to this country are right here in Seattle. They're right here. This is the first thing. This is one thing you're going to hear from our administration this year. There's a law in the books. It's RCW 9.41.290. What that does is that prohibits me, as your mayor, from taking the kind of action that I like to take. There are a lot of things I like to take. I like to bar every gun that can get on this park right now. We have too many guns, and we have too many guns in the wrong hands. Some of these answers are not that complicated. Now, in the meantime, and you're going to see something possibly on the ballot, you're going to see some work we're going to do. In the meantime, I'm going to invest in you, our community, what we call community-based solutions. That's sort of a fancy term. I like to say we're going to invest in the soldiers. Sharon Tipico Santos, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The people that are willing to go save our babies, save our elders. You know, we have a lot of people around here walking around what I call untreated trauma. It's a little different when we grew up, Darryl Powell and T.T. Minor. In those days, you get a little shoving match and you push a little bit and you start bragging about who fought, and then you play basketball with them the next day. Did I ever beat you up, Darryl? I can't remember. That's what we did when we were younger here, right here in the Central District, right here in Seattle. Now, this trauma out here, we are being targeted. The tragedies we see, there's no safe place. We once thought maybe a school was safe. We once thought a movie theater would be safe. We once thought a church would be safe. Right. A hospital would be safe. What we must do, community, we have to lead with love. We have to lead with love. And I will tell you that the people who are organizing against us, we have to be louder, stronger, more articulate, more passionate, more committed. We have to be the organizers. That stuff, that craziness we saw on January 6th, that ludicrous, anarchy, anti-democratic, we have to be stronger than that. But we have to do what you talked about, with God, with love. We don't need to throw a brick through a window or pull a gun at someone. We get to know one another. We get to know one another, and we're very intentional about it. You know, one of the biggest challenges on this job, I'm in a powerful position. I don't blame people. I don't make excuses. I will commit to you that I will work with each one of you who wants to put in the work. You won't put in the work to come and do what we're trying to do. Vita knows what I'm talking about. This is what we're going to do. We are going to organize. We're going to invest in community-based solutions. We're going to overcome that law in the books, 9.41290. We're going to find the right soldiers. We're going to protect our babies. We're going to change this country together. That is why I ran for mayor. I was only born a few miles from here. I used to watch this guy filming right now sing. Did you guys know this guy was a good singer? Where he had all that gray hair. I remember him back in the day. But when we were younger, Tony B., we didn't think we still have these kinds of issues. We thought we'd be much further advanced. But God is always good. I will close with this. This is not easy work. If it were easy, it would be solved by now. The issues we're grappling with, whether it's income inequality, the price of a house, racism, social justice, making sure our kids are equally educated, these are complex issues. But I believe if we look at each other's eyes and learn to love one another, stop yelling at one another. Spend time focusing on the solutions. Here's a solution for education. I wasn't a particularly gifted student, but what I had was, number one, an ability to ask questions, but I had mentors in my life in the city that helped me, that loved me, even if I didn't seem deserving of love. Community, this is our time. We're getting through a crazy pandemic right now. We're seeing mass shootings in unprecedented levels. Unprecedented levels. This is our time to better love one another. Put yourself in check. I do it every day. Every time I read something bad about me, I'm thinking, oh, let me still try to lead with love. NAACP, you've been here, you are here, you are our partners as a community, you'll be our partners in the city of Dayton Miles. Your leadership is beyond reproach. All of you here are part of a community, and I'm honored and blessed to be a part of that. Thank all of you for being here. I pledge you every ounce of energy I have to save our babies. The sisters and the mothers in grief, we are here for you because we understand your love. We're fueled off of your love. We're fueled by it. Thank you very much, and I want to say thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. That's why we have a mayor. That's why we are returning to where we were. And I just want to say, he asked me to close out, and I can't tell you a whole lot about closing out, except to tell you that when I look out at these young brothers and sisters, how do we close out? And all I can tell you is about an African proverb that I once heard. Claude, I remember they said, there was as I look around, there was a herd of elephants, a bunch of big elephants, Tony B. And they was going through the Mojave Desert. And they came to this river. And this river, Mr. Mayor, it was flowing fast. And I mean, it was flowing so fast, but it didn't bother these big elephants, see? Because when you weigh as much as a big elephant, any ride doesn't bother you. You just walked across the river. And they got across this river, and they got to the other side. And all of a sudden, Deborah Horn, on the other side of this river, somebody thought about it. And they said, brother leader, look back. And Carolyn, they looked back, and these little elephants were over here on the other side of the river, and they were scared. Darrell Powell, because they couldn't go across this river because they weren't as big as the big elephants. And this river to them was a very fast river. And they thought they might get washed down by this river. And so they stayed on the other side. And all of a sudden, the brother said, wait a minute. Because the leader said, I know one thing. If this herd is going to survive, we need those little elephants. So he turned around and said to all of these big elephants, I know you've already made it, Raymond. I know you've already made it, and you think that you've already made it, Rodney, but I need all of you big elephants to get back in the water. And I need you to get down shoulder to shoulder and side by side right now and form a bridge as tight as you can so these little elephants can run across your back and get to the other side. Because if they can't make it to the other side, this herd will die out. Get back down in the water. And I'm saying to you today, don't let these kids die out. Don't let these youngins die out. Because if they die out, this herd dies out. And if this herd dies out, we all die out. Get back in the water. Get back in the water. Shoulder to shoulder. Side by side. Build a bridge to the next generation. Let's make these kids a way to get across that river. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out. God bless you all. At this point, we're going to have a laying of a plaque, a temporary plaque on the other side, and release and have a release on the other side. So we're going to ask that we go to the other side and do the plaque laying now. And we're going to do the plaque laying over here on the other side where there's some other names as well. So if we want to recess to there, I think you can just go on the top. If you just go around on the top, you'll be fine because it's not going to take long. So if you just want to walk around without coming down the stairs, if you just want to walk around, that'll be fine.
Beautiful smile behind the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? Everything I'm going to be. I've been flying higher than an eagle. You are the wind in my I'll be nothing without you. You're my hero. You're everything I wish I could be. You are the wind beneath my wings. Did I ever tell you you're everything, everything I wish I could be. Oh, inside your heart, don't have to be afraid of what you are. There's an answer if you reach into your soul, and the sorrow that you know will melt away. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. It's a long road, and you face the world alone. One reaches out again for you. Oh, oh, oh. You can find love if you search within yourself, and the emptiness you feel will disappear. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. Looking down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round. You can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we can walk it out. Move mountains, we can walk it out and move mountains. And our eyes like the day, our The silence is quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Ooh, mountains, bring it to its feet. Ooh, mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. That we have each other, and for that we have each other. Yeah. We'll rise, we'll rise, we'll rise. We'll rise. I'll rise up. Rise like the day, I'll rise up. In spite of the ache, I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up. I like the waves, we'll rise up. In spite of the
What's wrong with the world, mama? People living like they ain't got no mama. I think the whole world is addicted to the trauma. Only attracted. Overseas, every trying to stop terrorism, but we still got terrorists here living in the USA, the big CIA, the Bloods and the Crips and the KKK. But if you only have love for your own race, then you only need space to discriminate, and you discriminate only generates hate. And when you hate, you're bound to get irate.
Okay. Rainier Avenue Radio.world. It's me, Tony B. I am here with Daniel Bellis, aka D Money. We have been bringing you the title of the exact title of this event again, Mr. Bellis.
They will never be forgotten.
They will never be forgotten. And a number of different key speakers, keynote address by our Seattle City Mayor Bruce Harrell, a rousing speech by Mr. Nate Miles, also celebration in song. We heard from some of the folks who have lost family members due to gun violence. And, this is something that's actually taking place all around the country, Mr. Bellis.
Man, today?
Today, yes,
wow.
All around the country. As a matter of fact, some folks are in D.C. I think 50 different cities, actually.
Wow. That is monumental, to say the least.
Again, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio. It's myself, Tony B. I'm here with D Money, Daniel Bellis. And, Daniel, we've just had a spate of mass shootings.
Yeah. 3 or 4 within the last couple of weeks that were just huge. And they just, it's heartbreaking that we just continue to do this to each other.
Thousands of people, Mr. Bellis, are actually expected to rally in the nation's capital and across the country today during the second March for Our Lives rally. And after a wave of even more mass shootings in recent weeks, Mr. Bellis, obviously Uvalde, Texas, Buffalo, New York, protesters are calling for lawmakers to take action, and then they're not the only ones. Specifically, President Joe Biden said Congress needs to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, strengthen background checks, enact safe storage laws and red flags, and repeal gun manufacturers' immunity from liability. And I think that's one of the things that is happening right now. One of the one of the family members of someone who was murdered in Uvalde is trying to sue the gun company that made the gun. The initial march and youth-led movement were spurred by the deadly February 14th shooting massacres in Parkland. At Marjorie Stone and Douglas High School. And we saw the doves released.
Saw them.
And just a very, very, very stirring event.
I did shed a tear.
Well, Mr. Bellis, I think that that's gonna do it. And you know what? I'm gonna.
Looks like we have an artist who wants to get an interview real quick.
Actually, she's coming over. We're gonna have her perform at Make Music Day.
Oh, okay.
It's
like she wants to get on the camera.
What was your name? What was your name?
I'm Kat. You told me to
Kat?
Yeah.
I think she's Kathleen Stokes, Tony.
Kathleen Stokes, and a rousing performance by Kathleen Stokes a little earlier this afternoon, and I'm shameless. I went over and said, "Hey, I need you to sing at Make Music Day." So that's it. We're gonna, Mr. Bellis, we are going to sign off.
Yeah. Speaking of Make Music Day, June 21st, y'all.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Mr. Bellis, before we go, we should probably tell people what we've got going on. On June 18th, we'll be in Renton Stadium, broadcasting live from the United Way Doug Baldwin Barbecue. I've heard there's over already 2,000 people that have registered for this barbecue. 5 different chefs, barbecue chefs. That's 11 to 3 on Saturday. And then on June 19th, we'll be celebrating Juneteenth at Atlantic Street Center. Wow. For their annual event, one of the longest running Juneteenth celebrations in the Northwest. And then also, of course, June 21st, Make Music Day will be everywhere, specifically down on the pier. And June 21st, that's from noon to 9. And then on June 25th, our soft grand opening at Columbia City Theater. So we've got a lot going on, a lot coming up, and we are happy to be back in the community after that long 2 years of COVID.
Woo.
Doing what we do again.
We were still busy during that time, though.
Yes. Oh, we were very busy. Again,
ain't no shutdown on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Oh, no, we kept going. We never stopped. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, thanks to the NAACP and Martin Luther King Committee for organizing this particular event. Well, Daniel, that's it. Kathleen, that's it. I'll talk to you in a second. And Mr. Bellis, on behalf of Rainier Avenue Radio, I guess I'll just say whether you believe you can or whether you believe you cannot, you are probably right. We're out. Peace.